darling misfits. Welcome to your slightly weird sisterhood. I'm so excited to be here. This is our first episode. This is my first solo episode, and I'm just honored to be with you today. So let's begin like we're going to begin all our episodes with a little bit of tea and tarot, even though I'm just drinking water today. It's summertime. Tea and tarot is just a moment so that we can ground ourselves before each episode, and in particular with subjects that might be a little bit more on the heavy side. So today I chose my Neopet deck. I wanted to pick something that was just a little softer, something a little gentler for reads. And for all my late 90s, early 2000 kids, this really hits all the nostalgia. I loved Neopets growing up. But if you guys want your own deck, I will put it into the show notes. So look out for those. Here we go. What is the energy that we need for today? Clear out the deck. Little ASMR for you. Of course. We draw the Knight of Cups in reverse. Jinkies, it's a little on the nose. So this card is for the lovers, the dreamers, the people who feel deeply but may have been told that that's kind of a problematic thing to be. When he is upright, the knight is poetic and full of justice and rides on this mission of beauty and love, right? It's very very masculine but also very romantic. He's emotional, he's artistic, maybe a little too emotional sometimes, maybe a bit dramatic, but that's okay because it's always sincere. But reversed, it feels like the brakes are on. It feels like maybe that's a little too much. Maybe that's just a little too emotional for the day. Maybe that's just a little too vulnerable for the people around us right now. So we want to protect it rather than be openly artistic, creative, beautiful, loving, kind, and soft. And there's a lot of people who don't value that in the world. But you know what? That's why I said this is on the nose. That's honestly why I built this podcast. I want to be able to create a safe space for people who don't exactly fit the mold of what everybody thinks they should be. When he's in reverse, maybe it's trying to say, are you too scared of being yourself? Are you scared of being too messy or too vulnerable? What is it that you're afraid of? Let's really embrace that. Let's embrace all the sides of you, not just the ones that are acceptable, but every piece of you, because all of you is beautiful and all of you is so worth it. This card is just asking you, are you protecting your sensitivity? And if you are, what's the reasoning for it? Let's really pinpoint that. And maybe give yourself a little bit more grace. This reverse knight is a reminder that you are not flawed. You are exactly who you need to be. Sure, we can all work on ourselves a little bit. You're not too messy. You're not too tender. You're not too much of anything. Let's build a safer spot for you to be yourself rather than just wish there was one. If you need some permission to be a little weird today, to be a little bit more yourself, I give that to you. Here is your permission slip for the day. Now today's episode is called You Are Not Too Much or Not Enough. And to be honest, this is a subject that kind of hits home for me. I have always been kind of one of those kids. I've been called too dramatic, too sensitive, too emotional, too nerdy, too everything. And maybe you have too. So first off, you're not alone. And that's nice. It's nice not to be by ourselves. Growing up, I was constantly told that I was a lot. Not always in cruel, mean ways, but sometimes it just got wrapped up in smiles and cute jokes. Oh, that's, you know what I mean? You get that soft language. I'd get it from church leaders and teachers and even family members sometimes. But the message was clear. The message was to tone it down. I was too loud, too dramatic, too opinionated, too perky, too sparkly, too much. And especially for little girls, my outfits were just a little too much. Too many frills and sparkles and bows. I just wanted to be a princess, okay? I remember when I was 14, just barely navigating through junior high, and figuring out who I was and what I wanted to be, I got excluded from the junior high musical. And it was not because I wasn't talented enough, because it's junior high, we're all on the same level here, but because my teacher said that I was too much of a pre-madonna and we didn't want to have to deal with that this year. Yep, she said that to my face. And I mean, I'm 14. Of course I was dramatic. What 14-year-old isn't dramatic? Especially, let's be honest, a musical theater kid, a Disney kid, a nerdy kid. Of course we're over the top. And, you know, for a 14-year-old girl trying to get into School of Rock Junior, being dramatic to me was, you know, that's basically the job of a 14-year-old choir nerd. But that experience turned into this big, embarrassing event. I got sent to the principal's office and the school counselor. I had to explain to my friends who were all in the show why they were in the show and I wasn't. I just remember feeling humiliated. Not because I did anything wrong per se, but just because I showed up a little too bright. And I know that sounds maybe conceited or arrogant. I just wasn't the quiet, conservative little Utah girl. And that message kept repeating. In high school, I wore outfits I loved. I wore glitter and sparkles and blazers. I love a good, like, power blazer. I had one that was made completely out of lace. I wore heels. Like just think full Disney Channel energy. I wanted to be Sharpay from High School Musical. That was my goal. And people would laugh or stare or whatever because I wasn't wearing the same Aeropostale Hollister t-shirts that everybody else was wearing. I eventually started dressing quieter when dating came around. Boys like quiet conservative girls, or that's what was presented to me at the time. Because, you know, I wanted guys to like me. And maybe guys wouldn't like me if I looked too flashy, too crazy, too weird. I worked right there. You can't see it unless you're watching the video. I have my Disney cast member name badges. I worked for the Disney company for about 4 years and I loved it. But I've been told many times from friends who still work in the company and other people not to share my Disney stories because it'll make the company look bad. I've even been told in my fandom spaces that my opinions don't matter or my voice is not important. Even when I dyed my hair pink, something fun and expressive, I was doing it for a show at the time. I was told in church that it was irreverent, I must be seeking attention, that there must be something I'm not getting at home, some attention that I needed, that I couldn't be possibly close to God looking like that. And sometimes no one even has to say anything. Sometimes it's that quiet feeling in a room where you don't belong, the way that people glance or don't, the way that you shrink yourself to meet others' comfort levels. But here's what I know now. That version of me, loud, sparkly, full of color and creativity, was never too much. She just never was meant for people who wanted less. Less of themselves, less of me. So if you've ever been told that you're too sensitive, weird, wild, colorful, loud, sparkly, to anything, you're not alone. Sometimes too much can show up in stories. They can show up in like the class clown kind of characters, or the glitter kid, the kid who talks with their hands too much, or the ones that cry in cartoons. They're misunderstood, dismissed, but they're also the truth teller in a lot of these stories. The ones who see things a little differently and maybe can give deeper perspective. For example, Phoebe Buffay. She was the definition of too much in full force. Singing Smelly Cat in Central Perk like it was a Grammy Award performance. Telling wild stories about living on the streets. Channeling past lives and talking to ghosts. But under all that kooky sparkle was a woman who survived trauma, chose family, chose joy in her own way. She wasn't weird to get laughs. She was weird to stay true. Another example, Luna Lovegood from the Harry Potter franchise, reading the Quibbler upside down, not because she wanted the attention, but because she didn't care what anyone else thought of her. She didn't care if people thought she was strange. She cared more about the way she felt and how she saw herself. She was soft-spoken but fierce and loyal, quirky but wise. People laughed at her, but they also needed her. Because Luna reminds you, you don't have to explain yourself to be worthy in the space. Her presence said, I'm not broken. You don't just recognize magic when you see it. Another favorite example of mine is Amélie was a dreamer who turned the mundane into magic. She cracked creme brulee with a spoon like it was a magic ritual. She returned lost treasures to old men. She painted the world whimsical just because she could. And maybe she doesn't fit in or didn't fit in. Maybe her heart was too tender for the real world. But she made a new one, her own. Amélie reminds us that being imaginative isn't a flaw. It's an offering. These characters or archetypes are a reminder. The world needs the weird ones, the sparkle freaks, the rainbow-haired storytellers, the ones who laugh too loud, dream too big, and cry at cartoons. Maybe being too much was never your flaw. Maybe it was your assignment, or even your destiny. So, with all that in mind, I have a bit of a challenge for you. Now, at the end of each of our episodes, I want to leave you with a little something. Something I'd like to call cosmic homework. No stress, it's not going to be graded. You don't have to do it. It's not supposed to be a stressful thing. It's just a little nudge from the universe, something reflective. Something playful, sometimes both. This week, I want you to look in the mirror and actually look at yourself. It's not like a TikTok scroll, look up and down. No, really look at yourself. Have a kind mirror moment, a real one. Look into your own eyes, like the way you would look at someone that you deeply love, and ask them, what parts of myself do I shrink? What happens if I stop? You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to force anything. Just notice. Just witness. Just be with yourself. Just be you. Just witness it. If you do try this mirror practice, I would love, love, love to hear about it. Tag me on socials, send me an email, DM me. I'd love to celebrate with you. I want to thank you for being a part of this very first episode and allowing me to be really vulnerable for the first half. I really appreciate you and your energy. My hope is that you leave feeling like you're not alone. That you can take these characters and these real life experiences and understand that there are other people who feel the same way that you do. That someone out there, maybe me, is feeling the same as you. There was a quote that I saw, and it kind of stuck with me. You're not everyone's cup of tea, because you're champagne, darling. You're sparkling, celebratory, joy, expensive, busy. You're not meant to dim your light. You are meant to shine. And you're not too much. You are exactly what this world needs. Thank you again for being here for our first episode of Your Slightly Weird Sisterhood. I can't wait to talk fandoms with you next week. Until then, I will see you next time.